Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. For today I'm just going to be making a quick video for you about email marketing. Now I know that lots of companies employ different tactics to do their email marketing. There's so many solutions out there, automation platforms, and some people craft bespoke emails. It depends what your target market is and the value of the product, and so I'm just going to be talking you through. I'm not going to go too much into detail because I don't think there's too much need to go into detail on this particular video, but I just want to kind of talk through some of the things you can do and what might work best for your situation, for your brand. Okay, so let's start with the email automation campaigns. Basically, there are kind of two different kinds. There's like what's called a drip campaign. So that is like an automated campaign, but it means that the recipient receives like one email. That could be, for example, as a result of visiting your company's website. And then you have like what I call, or what the industry terms, email automation campaigns. So a good example of that would be something like Klaviyo. Some people call it Klaviyo. And obviously, depending on how the recipient responds to the first email, they'll get another email which will be different based on their behavior. And there are different platforms out there. All of these platforms have like different templates which you can personalize and tweak and edit and stuff. Some platforms have a bit of a steeper learning curve than others. For example, if you've never used Klaviyo, you might find it a bit of a moderate to steep learning curve just to get going, but once it's all set up, it's quite easy to do. The key thing with any email campaign, whether it's a drip campaign or like a full-on automated email campaign, or something like a bespoke manual email campaign, which is often used for like delegate acquisition and stuff, among other things, is the actual not customers, for the data list. So you've got to have, as a business, you've got to have the right data in front of you. So by that I mean like the targeted data of people you're after. So are they CXOs, so C-suite business people, like chief marketing officer, chief executive, managing director, chairman, VP, those kinds of people, or you get the idea. And then you've got to have like the the actual companies that you're going after, which you can rank by or sort by size. And then you've got to have the right email address, because if you haven't got the right email address, you can't do anything. Now, a lot, in recent years, because there used to be this big spammy email thing on LinkedIn where people were pulling the email addresses off LinkedIn and then spamming people. This was kind of before GDPR came into effect, not a few years back. So LinkedIn have changed the system now, so your email address is not visible unless you decide to share it with somebody publicly or in a post, for example. And once you've got that data, it's best kind of stored and sorted in Microsoft Excel, because you can use different formulas to sort the data and get it in order and stuff. And then if you want to do a bespoke email campaign, okay, so that means something that's a bit more personalized and tailored, and where maybe it's not so much about the volume, although it is about the volume, but it's about getting the right people. It's about getting your message in front of the right people. Now, it's highly unlikely that you will send an automated email campaign list that hits the inbox of a CEO of a blue chip company, unless they're subscribed to your lists via your website or some kind of landing page mechanism. So, as I mentioned, when organizations are looking for delegate acquisition for events and corporate roundtables, or perhaps if you're looking to get your short message in front of a very senior person within a big company, very often it can be more effective to target these people through what I call like a bespoke email campaign. So that involves a bit more human input. So you have the data in your Excel spreadsheet, and you're literally copy and pasting the address to field into the email address into the address to field. And with regard to you see, in with regard to actually crafting these messages, AI can work wonders. You can, perhaps use AI to get the initial message together, and then use AI to, shorten it or refine the tone, modify the language, make it a bit more friendly, professional, friendly, corporate, or with a twist of humor. So you can edit these things down with different types of AI, not just ChatGPT, but other ones as well. And you can strip out all the bulletin points and just make it sound like it's, been written by a human. And, the more platforms you run it through, and the better your prompts are, and, the more edits you do, the better the copy will be, okay? The giveaways, not to make it look too much like it's being written by AI, because it's a giveaway. Anybody who gets that is going to think, this has been through ChatGPT. It looks a bit too automated, a bit too clean, a bit too professional, and it's spam. So the trick is to really humanize it. A good exercise might be to actually write it yourself, the copy yourself to start with, as a human being, with your own hand, with your keyboard or whatever it is, and then maybe polish that up in Ahrefs. There's a number of free tools, like Ahrefs free paraphraser. You can just kind of give you some slightly different examples of tone and slant and that type of thing. Or if you're not 100% happy with that, you can then copy and paste it over to ChatGPT and ask for maybe 20 different versions. And then you can pick the best one of those, and maybe ask it to humanize 2 or 3 more of those, and maybe move it over to Perplexity or one of the other AI platforms. There's loads of them, by the way. You'll find them. And once you've got some copy of it works, and it does have to work, because it has to be professional, has to be grabbing, attention grabbing, has to flow well, it has to look compelling. It's good to have a tiny squeeze, tiny pinch of humour in there, so it just gives it that human element. If it looks too robotic and too formal and too businesslike, too perfect, it's obvious it's been written by AI. So once you've got that, and you've got your Excel spreadsheet with all the correct email addresses in, then you can just begin literally copying and pasting them over and hitting send. You can easily get out sort of 50, 60 in a day, knowing that you've got the right email address and it's not going to bounce. Now, on the subject of the email addresses, it's well known that a lot of people give fake email addresses, or temporary email addresses. A lot of these platforms now, like Gmail and Firefox and stuff like that, you can create like temporary email addresses, which kind of disappear, and after you've used them, or you can delete those temporary email addresses. So the thing is, in the corporate world, people have got wise to the fact that people can guess their email addresses. In the past, it just used to be name.name@name.com. Yeah, that makes sense. Now companies got a lot more creative, so we've got like maybe the initial, so nname@name.com or n.name@name.com. In America, they tend to have like n-name or n.name at, and then the company name, whatever it is. But it does vary. Some senior people in big, large corporations are getting much more clever, and they'll slot numbers. They'll phone up their IT department, and they'll slot numbers into the email address. So it could be like name12.name at. Do you see what I mean? Just to kind of trick people and stuff like that. The best way to do it is to try and get hold of a good data list. You can buy these things from different providers. There's also, or there was, to the best of my knowledge, not an agency, a provider, a vendor called Mint, where you can buy these lists from, and you can sort them by company size and company location and stuff. Another good place to get it is, if you, obviously we live in a world of AI chatbots now. Perplexity is very good. That might be able to help you, identify the most, the top 10 email addresses that are used. And what you can do is, if you've got like say there are 3 possible email addresses, like name.name, at or name dot n at or n dot name at. You see what I mean? What you can do is you can put the most likely one in the send to field, and then you can copy and paste the further 5 or 6 into the blank carbon copy box, because they won't actually see that. You know, if one of the email addresses you copy and paste into the blank carbon copy box, you know, is the correct one, they will still get it, but it will just show the name.name@name.com one that you put into the thing. So it's worth doing that. I've done that many times, and you know, it's all about getting the emails through, getting past the not the gatekeeper, but you know, if the emails bounce and they're wrong, you know, they won't be delivered. So those are some tricks you can use to refine and really kind of, you know, hone, if you like, your email marketing. You know, what I've learned over the years is that yes, it is about volume and quantity, but equally it's about quantity, and it's about having the right contact details and the right email address. Because if you're sending out, like, let's just go off the top, if you're sending out like 5,000 email addresses in one day, okay, and they're not going to a very highly granular targeted database, not database, but you understand what I mean. Like, say if those email addresses are just very generic, like info at and hello at and, you know, that kind of stuff, or, you know, contact us at and stuff, you know, it's very generic and it might not even get past the receptionist. Most of those emails get deleted. You've got to have the right email address of the senior executive at the company you're trying to reach, where you're trying to pitch your product, you know, get a meeting, get an appointment, and that is the key to it. You know, if you've got like duff information, or the email addresses are too vague, too generic, or you've just tried to guess them and you haven't got them right, they're not going to get through, and then it's a waste of time. So it's about quality information, you know, having the right name, having the right email address, and, you know, having that list wherever you get it from, whether you build it yourself or whether you buy it, having it like highly targeted to the sorts of audiences that you want to get in front of, you want to get your message in front of. Okay, now there's different programs out there you can use. There's loads and loads, and I'll put some of them in the description box for you, video description box. But in a nutshell, you know, that is the most effective way to do it, because yes, there are lots of platforms out there, and from a D2C point of view, which is direct to consumer, you know, where the consumer lands on your website and maybe they click you know, sign up to your newsletter, or they click a certain landing page, and then, you know, that triggers like a drip campaign or a full-on email automation sequence campaign. To actually get in touch with, as I say, it's very dependent on the type of business you are, but to actually get in touch with very senior people, especially in bigger organizations, you've got to have the right data, and you've got to kind of drill that down first before you even start drafting the email. Yeah, so I will leave that one there. I got my main point across. See, I know this stuff because we used to do it. I did it for like 3 years solid, you know, for an events company in London, and that's how we used to organise and set up the delegate acquisition for the tech events for like really big names like LogMeIn and, you know, Appian and Delphix and companies like that. So hopefully you've learned something from that. Thank you for listening, and yeah, we'll wrap up there. See you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.